everybody. I know that you just finished lunch and you might be a little bit sleepy. I want to help out with sleepiness. So there are points in your hand, right here in your hand. It's a point that connects like a lot of nervous systems. And if you press it, that helps you wake up. Actually, because we have different bodies, everybody works a little bit differently. So if you just press around your hand and like press hard and find where it actually hurts, that's the place that you need to massage the most. There's also two places on your head. Obviously, the temples are a good place to massage. And also, if you feel around your eyeballs, if you feel like the bone creates like a little circle around your eyeballs, and right around here, the circle has like a little triangle. Right around here, if you could feel the little triangle, that's where a lot of blood vessels come out to your face and into your body. So that point also helps to wake up. So wake up, because this is going to be intense. So welcome for the millionth time. We're so happy to have you here. Ni-Yong, he is our amazing intern who did so much work for us. And right now he's serving in the army in Korea for a month, and then he's going to Stanford. He actually made a survey that was sent to you, one of those surveys, that asked what you guys are really interested to get out of the boot camp. And we kind of rated it. The two top ones, can anyone guess? What? Networking was the top. Networking and maybe getting to know your business partner. If you're going to work very close in teams, but I want to try and a little bit help us get to know each other and network. So first of all, we're going to start with what is networking not. I'm going to show you a little video.
Hello there, Roger Metcalf. How are you, Beryl?
Actually, it's Betty.
Yes, of course. Having a good time, are you?
Oh,
yes, meeting lots of interesting people. I've spoken to dozens of people today, I can tell you, and given out lots of cards, in fact, yes. So tell me, Barbara, what do you do then?
Actually, it's Betty.
Yes. I'm a marketing executive, you know, working a lot with blue chip companies at the moment and making quite an impression in the States, I can tell you, yes.
Well, that sounds very interesting.
Yes,
so
it is.
I'm in marketing too.
Well, that's marvellous, Beryl. I'm sure my business could help you. Yes, in fact, we're helping so many businesses at the moment, you can't afford to miss out. Look, let me give you my card.
Oh.
Give me a call sometime, and I'm sure we can do business.
Actually, could I give you my card?
Oh, yes, of course. There, thank you. Yes, you know, if you're spending money on marketing, Beryl, then I'm your man.
Well, it sounds very interesting, this marketing. So tell me, what exactly is
That guy over there, oh, a multi-million-pound player, I can tell you. Have to give him my card.
Nice meeting you too.
This is a little bit about what networking is not. When you come to network, you're talking to people, especially us in the entrepreneurial world, but also people who have a lot of money. This money is their life. Your entrepreneurship is your life. When you looked at that person, would that be a person that you would let babysit your child or give your baby to take care for? No. So how do we make a real connection? How do we get to really trust? I don't know if there are a lot of books on networking, and all of them are recommended. One of the most famous one by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. They're talking about real connections. There are many ways to really make a real connection, but what Dale Carnegie explains in his book, and a lot of others, they emphasize the need to give. There's something about nature that when we give, the person feels connected, right? So a lot of us come to like a networking session and we're like, okay, you know, what can I get out of people? But it's actually what can I give to people? When we give, we feel really good and we feel connected too. So I want to introduce you to a practice called co-counseling. It was founded in the 1950s by a man called Harvey Jackins. I'm going to put you into teams. I want you to find one person in the room that you haven't spoken to yet that's not in your team. All right, this is where intensity happens. All right, so I want you to get up and find someone that you haven't really spoken to yet. Okay, we're not going to start talking yet. I'm going to tell you exactly when to start talking. Co-counseling is a method where you are going to talk to your partner for 5 minutes. The partner is not making any comments, unless it's a yes or I understand, but only support. No comments whatsoever. You have 5 minutes to talk to your partner. You can talk about the boot camp or anything that you want to talk about. You have 5 minutes, and then I'm going to say switch. And then your partner is going to have 5 minutes. Remember, and talk about anything you want, but you have those 5 minutes. When we get to 4 minutes, I'm going to tell you that you have 1 more minute left. Some of you may be very comfortable with talking, but sometimes we feel like we have a lot to talk about, but after 2 minutes, we're like, okay. So the techniques of co-counseling, like I said, the body has a lot to do with it, so with our mind. Those techniques are basically for if you have a moment of like stress and anxiety and you're like panicking and you don't have anything to say and you're like, what am I going to do? So one is stretching. Some people find it helpful to yawn or laugh or cough or just like shake. Anything that could help you, you move on. And your partner, obviously, partner's job is to make the yes and accept. So that it's a way to like release and like move on, to keep on talking. So it's just to help you to talk for 5 minutes. If you don't have any problems with talking for 5 minutes, then you're all set. Okay. On your marks, get set, go. First partner, talk for 5 minutes. I know.
I'm really having a hard time.
You're doing a great thing. You're doing a great job there. 4 minutes, so keep on talking. You have 1 more minute before the switch. Okay, 5 minutes are over. We're ready to move to the next partner. 3, 2, 1. Next partner, start talking. 5 minutes. You guys are awesome. Good job. I'll give you a few seconds to finish your conversations. All right, so stay where you're seated. Stay where you're seated. So does anyone want to share? What did they learn? Yes.
I really like him that he's pursuing his dream and following with.
You like her?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you guys the evening to like do more sharing and bonding. But how is this different than any other networking? Yes.
You can really connect to a person. Only listening is a different stage. You totally connect. So it's something that we need to practice.
Yeah.
Is your question about this event?
Yes.
This place? Yeah.
I mean,
this event is basically, it's a like-minded thing, right? People are here with a specific group, homogeneous group, probably that. So you will be able to connect on the spot. The other thing I see is when you do not know the person, that arouses the curiosity, so you definitely will have the 5 minutes, you will be able to speak more. Yeah.
Thank you.
So usually I always end up asking questions or after about 10 to 15 seconds, because I know what I'm interested in asking, and with this, what I learn is sometimes I can find out much more interesting things than I expected.
So we had, thank you so much. We had this structure here where we had to listen for 5 minutes. We had to talk for 5 minutes. That doesn't usually happen in a networking event. It doesn't usually happen in life. Even your best friend, your spouse, we always have interruptions. And co-counseling is actually a very therapeutic thing that people have been practicing in their groups. You could look online, and it's really amazing. Did you have a quick question?
Yes, more than a question, kind of a frustration, because not being allowed to answer if he asked was you don't want to be polite over here, and it was pretty frustrating just saying yes or no.
Actually, Actually, for a very long time in my life, I used to counsel, and I used to like have the best answers to give people. And at a certain point, something happened, and I couldn't really answer. And my friend turned to me, and she was like, "You know, that was the best conversation we ever had." It's like, I mean, sometimes people just want to be listened to, but I understand you. You know, sometimes conversations are different times. This was just kind of like a little practice in active listening and mindfulness. Very often, like the first video that we saw, there are two people meeting. My mom says, "What is the difference between monologue and dialogue?" Monologue is one person talking to themselves. Dialogue is two persons talking to themselves. Usually it's two agendas, and it's very hard to actually hear the other person. So there are a lot of tools about how to actually be there and be engaged. I'm gonna move in a second to the tools, but a question that is very, very good is an open-ended question, right? We often ask, "Was your day all right?" And that's the answer is yes or no, right? Closed-ended questions is a question that leads to a yes or no. Open-ended is, how was your day? Like something that triggers an answer. We actually try to focus that also on our courses on edX, how to make our listener engaged and engaged actually. Can I help you? Is a very tricky question. Can I help you? Of course I'm okay, right? But how can I help you? You just add that how, and it's an open-ended question. And then the listener already has to think, oh, how can you help me? Just smile, or bring me a glass of water. Changing the question to an open-ended question helps a lot. And then the mindfulness techniques that I'm going to approach now, which is noticing different things about the person that you wouldn't notice otherwise. When you have an agenda and you come into a conversation, you're very absorbed with yourself. Evolution made us really, really notice that. When someone's not listening, we feel it. When someone is really listening, we feel it because they're with us. They're actually engaged. And there are techniques about how to be actively engaged. One of my most inspiring mentor, her name is Ellen Langer. She's a professor at Harvard, and she studies mindfulness. And Sarah knows her, apparently. And she does like all these experiments of like placebo effect. She gives people mirrors that make them look thinner, and after a week they actually lose weight. It's just like, how we perceive ourselves changes our behavior. And also in conversations, how we perceive the conversation, how we perceive the other person engagement makes us react to that other person. And so she went to summer camps, and she asked the counselors to give a survey to their campers. So one group of counselors were told, go to a camper and try to ask them as many as you can from the survey. And the other group of counselors were told, try to be mindful. And I'm going to explain what mindful is. Mindful is kind of, don't be a robot, right? Mindful is, Ellen explains, like, try to notice new things that you haven't noticed before. Maybe that person has freckles. They have an interesting hairstyle. What are they wearing? What is their body position? I actually have a friend who taught at the Kennedy School at Harvard. So you'd think that he'd like be amazing in managing, and he's having a really hard time right now. And he's calling me, and he's like, Shalhavit, I'm managing 40 women, and there's so many questions coming to me, and what do I do? And I told him, Ty, try to like not only listen to the words, but look at their body expression. Sometimes a person just wants like, just support, right? Sometimes we're saying a lot of words, but there's a whole energy and body language that happens behind it, right? So it's noticing the body language, the energy of the person, how they're breathing, whatever you could notice about like new details would make you seem more engaged. And so after the counselors did those surveys to the campers, they asked the campers to rate the counselors. So the second group of counselors who had the mindfulness tools were actually all rated as more engaging, more enthusiastic, better counselors, but also very charismatic. Because the camper really felt good with them. It's that feeling of being engaged. And it seems like throughout evolution, like we'll pick up on those things and create real connections if we feel real. So that idea of realness is not only in conversations, but it also brings to other areas of our life. So Ellen Langer actually, with Timothy Russell, who is the director of the Arizona State Symphony, they went to the Arizona State Symphony and told them to play one of their favorite pieces, which is Bach Symphony No. 1, and play it and practice and do it exactly the way they should and according to the rules. Then Ellen came up to all the different musicians in the orchestra and asked them to try and and be mindful, right? Notice things that they didn't notice before, maybe kind of do their own thing, kind of like a little bit more towards a jam session, which, you know, any normal person would think like, oh my gosh, they're not going to follow the rules, it's going to be catastrophe, right? So they recorded both of the times. The first time where they did exactly how they should, kind of like robots, and the second time where they were like mindful and like, you know, played a little bit with the violin and felt it more and just like felt part of the music. And it was given to professional listeners that ranked the orchestra. And the second piece, the mindful piece, was ranked as, again, more engaging, more emotional. It was like more touching, and overall a better piece, right? So it was better than Bach himself because every person was engaged. So I'm not saying, you know, drive on the wrong side of the street, but you know, you could drive on the right side of the street, but you can make your car colorful or dye your hair. So I wanted to introduce you to a quick video. If you have pens, use your pens. If not, just think with your head. I want to ask you to write 3 emotions, 3 thoughts that came up from watching this video.
I'm here to get validated.
You are awesome.
Excuse me?
You have an amazing face. You've got powerful features, man. Anyone ever tell you that?
No.
And listen, you look a little down. And it may seem like sometimes people don't understand you. But someday, man, someday, people are gonna see you for what you really are.
You really think so?
Absolutely. You are great.
Need a validation, please?
You are great, ma'am. You have amazing cheekbones.
Really?
Sir, yes. We have a situation. Where?
Oh my gosh. 6 months old.
What the hell's going on?
Yes, that is so sweet.
You've been through it. You know. You've had so much life experience that other people don't appreciate, but you know.
Bless you, dear.
They're not patronizing the shops. They're just coming to see him.
Oh, sir, you're in great shape. You work out?
Not for long.
I do, actually, a bit. Yeah, thanks.
Young man, we are running a business here, not a social club.
That is a fantastic suit. It really flatters you.
You think so?
You guys work so hard. You are the backbone that keeps this place running.
It always felt like no one really appreciated us.
Yeah, I mean, our jobs are so stressful, and it seems like most of the times people just don't see it.
No, what you do is so important.
You know, I bet the boss would love to meet you.
You are great. You provide hundreds of jobs, sustaining hundreds of families. That's huge.
That's so good to hear. Most times I feel like people don't recognize that. I'm just the big bad man on the hill.
Not at all. You give.
Oh, my Lord. You know, I know some people who would probably like to meet you.
Mr. President, no matter what people say about you, you have still got a great golf swing. God bless you. You do. You have a fantastic mustache. I bet Burt Reynolds and Tom Selleck look at you and get envious. I'm not kidding.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hugh Newman, a man who is changing the world with free parking and free compliments.
All right. So I asked you to write 3 things that you felt. Anyone wants to share? Happiness. Positive. Compliment. Validation. What? Magic. Persistence. Transformation. Persistence. So So all he did was basically a listener. He was giving, he was validating. And it's kind of like a little bit of that feeling that we felt in the co-counseling experience. We had someone just be there for us. And that is so precious. It's beyond words. Authenticity is something that evolution really, really made us feel very well. And there's a lot of research. Did you have a comment? Okay. He might be like a sham artist, but we still kind of like him. The sham artists who who destroy people's lives. But I totally hear you, and that's totally valid. And the point that I want to give. I am honest. When you study the actors, the features on their faces, they have they practiced a lot. Actually, I was acting for one of the videos here, and you have to get into in order to be a good actor, you really have to feel those feelings. It's not like you're pretending to feel. You make the story in your head. You kind of get into that story, and you need to feel it, and that's how you make things more believable. Same thing with YouTube sensations. They work well if they're either really real or the actor played really well. Also relationships. I'm just trying to touch a little bit upon that little thing about authenticity. One of my focuses, I'm doing my master's at Harvard right now as I'm working here. In the psychology department, Amy Edmondson, she's a psychologist that was studying teamwork. And she had a lot of teamwork theories, and she went to actually hospitals in Boston and gave sessions of how to work together. She ranked those hospitals relative to other hospitals on how many accidents and mistakes were reported after working well together. And something happened that completely shifted all of her research to the other direction. She got results of her surveys, but what she expected happened opposite. So the teams that she gave them teamwork sessions had more mistakes, more problems, basically. Not problems in communication, but they just had more reports of things that didn't happen correctly. And when Amy Edmondson went a little bit more into that, she found that those teams didn't just have more mistakes, they just reported the mistakes more. Right? There's always mistakes that happen, but when a team doesn't feel comfortable, they just won't report the mistake. And she changed her whole direction from teamwork to something called psychological safety. And when you feel safe, you could actually report your problem. And they have this little thing called mistake parties. When someone does a big mistake, they throw a party. That idea of trust and building a connection. I actually gave a full hour presentation in SUNY University of New York. If you look at my profile, I think it's on my LinkedIn. But authenticity is something that in business, it's something that's shown to be something that connects you. It's very interesting what people do to create business bonds, but it's not always just meeting for coffee. And when it comes to relationships, any kind of relationship, but specifically in romantic relationships, Professor John Goodman from Washington University, he followed couples that stayed together for a long time. So it's a shift of today's psychology of instead of asking what's not working, asking what is working and what made it work. He was a lead expert on divorce. And he could look at a couple and predict in 90% if they're going to get divorced or not in the next 5 years. And then he did this new shift of let's see what made people stay together. Right? And he wrote this whole book called Passionate Marriage. And one of the things that they found is that couples who stay together for a long time, apparently every relationship has also focus on validation, but also focus on getting to know. That's how he calls it. Getting to know, expressing and just hearing your partner. And the couples, the first research he did was on couples who stayed together after the economic crisis in 1929 in the States. It was a big economical crisis. People lost their jobs, their homes, and couples just split. But some couples stayed together, and those are the couples that he first studied. And what he found, and I think it's just very relevant to entrepreneurship because there are a lot of mistakes happening, a lot of crisis. But what kept them together, those couples relationships had more of an emphasis on the knowing and getting to know. I come from a biblical background, so also in the Bible, when a man and woman come together, it's called knowing. So that idea of expressing, of knowing and getting to know, and authenticity. David Schnark from Louisiana State, he did a study on also communications in couples, and he found that there are different kinds of couples. There are couples that are conflict avoiding, and there are couples who are very, very expressive, shouting and yelling, volatile. And the volatile couples were actually more stable than those who avoided conflicts. Because they were authentic. And we have those sensors, again, I said it a million times, but when someone is real, we feel it. And also the relationship is better for a longer time, because if you're trying to be someone else, after a while, you're going to get tired of it. And the person who thinks that you are what you're trying to be also gets a different impression. You're going to end up with the wrong person. So being yourself really helps. Also, at the beginning of the bootcamp, we emphasize, it's more about the team than about what you're trying to get together, because the team is, it's about the connection. Yoni, did you have a question?
Yes, you want us to shoot at our team members, right?
To shoot, to shout, yes, yes. Go for it. So now that I gave you a little bit of practice on mindfulness and mindful listening, we're going to have a practice. When I say go, not yet, we're going to all stand up and go outside of the office to do a kind of speed dating networking session. I'm going to pass around those clocks. So if you could pass them this side. Not all of them are printed so well. But I want you, again, once I say go, I want you to walk around and find people who you haven't spoken with again. Ideally, again, not from your team. But if there's someone on your team that's kind of introverted, go for it. People that you just don't know yet. And schedule a time to meet with them, right? So you have a clock. Just write their name, and they're going to write yours, so there won't be any mistakes. Once you're done scheduling, I'm going to, again, stand and say go, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and it's not going to be like 5 minutes each. It's going to be just 2 minutes of conversation. It's kind of like a real networking environment, right? Where you have to go, you have to move, you're meeting people. But try and be mindful, try and notice things. Maybe this inspired you a little bit to be more authentic, to be more engaging, mindful. But after those 2 minutes, I'm gonna yell, okay, the time is 6 o'clock. Go and meet your 6 o'clock partners. But before that, I want you to, at the end of the conversation, I want you to take the other person's clock and write in the back one good thing that you felt about them, right? So I'm going back to the beginning. The goals, the top goals of this bootcamp for you guys were to network and maybe to find your business partner. Feeling good about yourself and feeling good about how people see you is awesome. We have tons of aspects about ourselves. But once you're done with this 2-minute networking, I want you to take the other person's and write, one positive word in the back. So I have a few, anything that comes to mind to, that person was a good listener. Better than I like his mustache or I like his, So my friend works at a preschool, and she said that it really bothers her that, when the girls come with a pretty dress, you say, hey, I love your dress, it's so pretty. Because that emphasizes that your dress has to be pretty, and then I'm going to love you if your dress is pretty. So we're thinking how to come up with something else. And we're like, hey, I like your style. It's your decision. You're the one who decided to wear this dress, so it's your style, right? So try to refrain from comments that I like those colors, but I like their style. I like, what they said or something, right? So again, when I say go, we're gonna stand up, go outside. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to schedule with people, and then once it's 5 minutes of finding schedules, I'm gonna start calling out the time, and you're gonna go and meet that person. Try as many as you can. כולם לצאת החוצה בבקשה, אני רוצה שכולם יצאו החוצה. Alright, everybody outside. I said go outside in the room. get to know each other. I'm going to post this online. You can have links of resources of all the people that I spoke with and all the wonderful things we watched. So thank you so much. Are there any questions before we close up?
Yeah, can we do this more often?
Please. Please do this more often. You are independent and you have clocks. You have cell phones. But just, yeah, feel free to talk to people. We love when people are real. So if you come up and you're shy, just say I'm shy. Or just say I don't know what to say. But people appreciate that. We really do. So thank you so much. You've all been amazing.
Thank you.
Guys, I gotta say, we call Shalhavit here. In our team, we call her the secret weapon. And you've been able to witness the power of the secret weapon today. And what's more, you realize that not all secret weapons are negative. There are secret weapons that are highly positive. So here's the story right here. Let's give it up for Shalhavit.